The Toronto Raptors have decided what their direction is going to be for the rest of this season, and it certainly won't be trying to make the playoffs. So in this video, I'll reveal if this is really the right decision for the team. Let's get into it. This is Amateur Sports, everybody, the YouTube channel completely dedicated to providing you with Toronto Raptors news coverage and analysis and videos just like this, as well as live stream watch parties. Make sure to drop a like on this one if you enjoy along the way, and also make sure you're subscribed to the channel to keep up to date with all this great Raptors content for the rest of the season and, of course, into the offseason. Also, we're less than 100 subscribers away from 17,000, and when we get there, we're giving away 2 Raptors jerseys to the community, so help us get to that point, and more information will be on the way. But today we're discussing the Raptors, who have clearly chosen a direction for the rest of the season. It was made very apparent in the recent losses to the Denver Nuggets as well as the Portland Trail Blazers. Yes, the Raptors did lose both those games and in fact have lost 4 games in a row at this point. But the overall direction of the team was not at all apparent until these recent 2 games, with the Raptors surprisingly have left some players off the team for the game, and the injuries don't seem to be very real, let's call it. The Raptors certainly at this point, it looks like, are committing to a tank here, with the recent loss to the Denver Nuggets coming in a game where, surprisingly, Emmanuel Quickley was left off the team, as well as Gary Trent Jr. due to injuries, which we can only assume are injuries in the range of the tankitis. And if we look at the game on Saturday against the Portland Trail Blazers, well, RJ Barrett was absent from that game, and one can only assume that there was also a cold case of tankitis. Yes, the Toronto Raptors decided that the playoffs are a little bit out of reach at this point. They are over 6 games back of the Atlanta Hawks, that final play-in tournament position. And despite the fact that Trae Young has been injured and will be injured for a couple of more weeks, it doesn't appear as though the Hawks will slip enough to relinquish that final play-in tournament position. And it has never really been apparent to suggest that the Raptors are going to go on some sort of run in order to take that final play-in tournament position. So, whoever it is, probably Masai Ujiri, front office, maybe in conjunction with the coaching staff, has decided that the best way forward for this team is focusing on that draft pick. And that draft pick does provide a lot of complications associated with it, which leads to some resentment from Raptors fans suggesting that, well, you're not guaranteed to even use your pick no matter how far you fall in the draft, so why would you try and tank at this point? Well, let's look at this situation for this team. I've been in the mindset that even before Scottie Barnes got injured, even before Jakob Poeltl got injured, the best case for this team would be to get the best possible draft position and try and get something out of the draft lottery. Because even if the Raptors are a bottom 6 team, which they aren't even right now, they only have a 45% chance of keeping that pick. If they fall to a bottom 5 team, they would have a 63% chance of keeping that top 6 protected pick that was sent out to the San Antonio Spurs at the 2023 NBA trade deadline. That trade that brought Jakob Poeltl back to the team. Where the Raptors currently sit is with the 7th worst record, which provides them about a 31% chance of retaining that top 6 protected pick, as I said. So even if you do tank, well, you're not guaranteed to have that pick. So why not just go and try and win as many games as possible just to see if you get in the playoffs? Well, at this point, we kind of have to play some percentages here, because the Raptors, they're only 1 game up on the Memphis Grizzlies at this point in this tank battle. So clearly, they're capable of going below the Memphis Grizzlies in this tank race. Even though the Raptors currently sit at 18th in the strength of schedule remaining list, their schedule is the 18th most difficult remaining, like not one of the more difficult schedules remaining in the NBA. The Memphis Grizzlies actually are in 27th on that list, meaning they have one of the easiest remaining schedules left. And even with sitting out an abundance of players, they have found some ways to pick apart some wins here and there. The Raptors, yeah, some wins may come here and there, and one surprisingly almost came to the hands of the reigning champion Denver Nuggets in Denver, but for a 22-point blown lead by the Raptors, they are certainly capable of falling further into this draft. But even with their current percentages, 7th place, 7th worst odds, 31% chance of retaining that pick, that percentage chance of keeping that pick has very, very likely been deemed to be a higher percentage chance than actually making the play-in tournament. The Raptors are just too far gone at this point, and especially considering the fact that Scottie Barnes and Jakob Poeltl are injured at this point, like especially considering that aspect, yeah, the front office, whoever has decided that the best course of action for this team is to focus on that draft, because you can go and try to win games. And obviously, the pros associated with trying to win games and trying to get into the play-in tournament is the fact that, well, if you don't make the play-in tournament, you still get something out of it. You still get these good reps for the players. You still get the continuity growing between the players. But I mean, is that even really the case? You're still going to get some good reps for players even in the mix of this tank right now. Like we saw that game against the Denver Nuggets. No Emmanuel Quickly, no Gary Trent Jr. The Raptors literally didn't have a point guard available to play that could start the game. Like Freeman Liberty came in, didn't get many minutes, but it was like RJ Barrett and Bruce Brown basically in conjunction as a starting point guard for the team against the Denver Nuggets. In a game the Raptors almost win in the end. And in a game like that, you're still going to get plenty of touches for RJ Barrett. You're still going to get plenty of reps for RJ Barrett, and a lot of those reps are going right at Nikola Jokic at the rim. Some really good experience there for RJ Barrett. And hey, if he gets to rest a little bit on the side, like every other game he's resting, then he's out there getting some good reps as like the lead player on the team. I still think a lot of development can come out of that, even if the Raptors are losing games. I know it kind of sucks. It does suck for morale. It does suck, when you're in a situation like this where you continue to lose games, of course. But, we've seen evidence in recent history of the Raptors tanking in that Tampa season where they end up getting the 4th overall pick and, of course, drafting Scotty Barnes and then blasting out of the gates in the next season and ended up being the 5 seed the following year. So just because, morale might be a little bit lower in this process, and obviously as Raptors fans watching the games, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to stomach watching it with the current product and the current player pool out there on a consistent basis. You have to look at the big picture situation here. Even as the 7th worst seed in the NBA, your probability of getting that pick is still higher than the probability of you actually making the play-in tournament at this point. I think that getting the experience out of the play-in tournament and potentially very unlikely any sort of playoff series in the first round is very valuable, but I don't think that's quite as valuable as the potential at this point of getting that top 6 pick in the NBA draft. There's going to be comments perhaps suggesting that this is a weak draft class. I promise you, there is a lot of talent in this draft class still. Is it weaker than normal? Maybe. Probably is. But there is still talent right at the top of this draft class, and there is talent that can really help propel this team forward. And even if we want to consider this a weaker draft class, let's move like 5 picks back here. Let's say the Raptors end up with the 6th pick in the 2024 NBA draft, but it's a so-called weak draft class. So what? That pick is, what does that turn out to be in a normal draft class? Like what would be the 11th or 12th or 13th pick, maybe 10th pick? Well, that's still a very good player. I mean, let's look at the most recent draft class. Cason Wallace goes 10th. That's a great player. Jet Howard goes 11th. Jury's still out on that. Not quite working out, but we'll see. Derek Lively goes 12th. Great player. Grady Dick goes 13th. Great player. Like in the mix of wherever you think that a player who is going 6th this year would land in other draft years, you still have a very high chance at grabbing some high quality talent in this position, which can really help propel this team forward next season. Like if you're talking about moving for the rest of the season, trying to win games for the rest of the season, that building on that for next season, I think it's even easier to build off of getting even more talent to supplement this core, because even though we like this core, Scotty Barnes obviously an all-star at 22, Emmanuel quickly continuing to rise, RJ Barrett seemingly continuing to rise, and Grady Dick, I mean, we're just scratching the potential that this player can be produced in the NBA with the way he's playing right now. Adding on another piece to that core, at least having the opportunity to do so, that makes a whole lot of sense. But obviously, there is the chance, the likeliest outcome at this point is Raptors are the 6th or 7th worst team record-wise. I mean, they could really make a push to try and catch the Portland Trail Blazers in the tank race, but they're 4.5 games up on the Blazers right now. So the likeliest outcome is the Raptors still don't even have a greater than 50% chance of keeping their pick. So you have to understand that there's going to be some risk associated with that. But this is the right decision for the team. Again, you're likelier to keep that pick than to make the playoffs at this point. It's going to be tough to stomach, but the potential prize of a top 6 pick is worth it for this team to go for and try and get. Look, it may not work out. They may not keep their pick, but then it conveys. The pick is gone. It conveys. Don't have to worry about it anymore. Now you focus on next year. You have your pick for 2025. You have your pick for 2026. And then you have the ability to trade picks down the line as well now, because there's no protections anymore associated with the pick. You are in control of all of your first-round picks at that point. The Raptors also have some additional picks to use in this upcoming draft. Yes, that's not the ideal situation, but you're still going to get reps and development reps out of the players for the rest of the season, even in the midst of a tank. Like how much did the Raptors get out of that Phoenix Suns loss? How much did they get out of that Denver Nuggets loss? There's still some great reps that they're getting out of these games, even though they are in the midst of the tank here, and they're just putting themselves in the hat to land an absolute stud in this upcoming draft. And that is the right move for this Raptors team to make at this present point. So it will be ugly, but what do you guys make of this decision? Do you think they still should have pushed for the playoffs, or do you think tanking is the right decision for the team? I just only hope at this point that we don't look back annoyed and say, tanking was the right call, but man, we should have started this sooner. Because I've been calling for it before the Scotty Barnes injury, before the Jakob Poeltl injury. This should have been done 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games ago for the Raptors. Right out of the All-Star break, this really should have been the call for the Raptors. That 3-game win streak gave us a false sense of where this team was going. It was certainly fun at the time, but at no point did I look at that 3-game win streak saying, like, yeah, this is who the Raptors really are. No, it was a case of, okay, we're in a bit of an upward spell here. Don't think this will maintain itself. So, it's the right decision for the team, but time will only tell if it was too little, too late for the Raptors, but they're going to give themselves a chance regardless. So give me your thoughts and opinions on the tank in the comments down below. That's all for me for today. Drop a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe to the channel as well for more Raptors content, because when we do hit 17,000 subs, so not only when you subscribe, you're getting great Raptors content, you're getting yourself ready for that 17,000 sub giveaway with not one, but 2 Raptors jerseys, courtesy of myself and one of the members in the community at 905 Yada. We'll see you again very soon for another video, and keep out lookout for that giveaway details.